Do you think a woman should be allowed by her husband to engage in sex work while married? Would ever be appropriate?
Yes, I think if it's between the couple. I think everybody's relationship is different, and I can't sit here and judge or make any like standards for somebody else's relationship.
If they're non-religious, for example, but they're married by the state, a man and a woman together, I mean, if a woman is still engaging in sex work, I mean, every day that's basically cheating on her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody could think that that's not gross by if you're engaging in sex with somebody else other than your partner that you're committed to. It outside of just like cheating on the other person, it's dirty. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even psychologically and statistically, the more people that you're sleeping with, it's also harming your relationship.
I mean, if a guy asked me my body count, I would be like, how old are you? Like, it should not matter. It's not.
Well, if he wanted a serious relationship with you and wanted a marriage with you, I mean, it's statistically, the marriage success rate goes down the toilet. 50% of marriages in the United States end in divorce, and 80% of those are initiated by women, which is directly correlated to if you have slept with more people and you have more bodies on your record, you're more likely to get a divorce. So I don't think it's unfair for a man to ask, hey, how many men have you been with in the past? Because that's going to impact him in his future too.
It's less about how many people you slept with and more about like your experience with relationships.
Do you agree that psychologically though, the more people that women sleep with, it changes the chemicals like in your brain to where you're enabled to have a longer term relationship with a man?
That's like an
no,
actual science.
No, I mean, I
also think the modern feminist movement has completely lied to women to be empowered, to enable them to go into sex work, which is just a lie. I mean, men are the ones that are, again, supplying that to where, I mean, OnlyFans really is the biggest PIMP of it all, taking 20% of every single woman's money that they're making on this account by posting nude images of themselves under the guise of being empowering. And so it's just another lie that, I mean, the feminist movement has continued to sell to women, on top of like even the birth control movement. When birth control came out, it was being able to be sexual and sleep around with people with no consequences. And that's when that started to come out. In the early times, that's why it was put on the market. You know, why aren't men having birth control? I'm not on birth control at all, but I think there's multiple moments in history that women have just continuously been lied to and encouraged to have a higher body count. It's been normalized now though, that for people to lose it young, just like get it over with, get it out of your system. Women sleep around, like get that sexual experience, which now men, when dating, I don't think men ever desire a woman who's sexually experienced. You can learn that in marriage.
That's not true. You're so wrong on that.
I'm
so sorry, girl.
Like there's a barrier.
It's true.
Look, there's a barrier.
It's true.
Can I say something?
See, I don't think they care for hookups. For hookups, they'll hook up with anybody, whether you're experienced or not. Because if they're doing marriage, they won't. Rise of like modern feminism. So ever since 50s, 60s to now, divorce rates have increased. Sexual promiscuity has increased. Hookup culture has increased. Obviously, social media plays a role into that.
The ones is money, because
Yes,
it is, but a lot of it is financial security, like with your partner and being able to provide for your family. When you're talking about like, you know, women needing to work, I think honestly a lot of that is more feminism with like, you know, being a corporate woman, like I can do it on my own, the boss babe energy, waiting to have kids, waiting to get married, to where now even the marriage rate and our birth rate in America has decreased because women feel like that they need to provide.
Have that simulation.
Do you really feel like it's all women's fault? Like the second women were able to provide for themselves, they chose not to be with men. What does that tell you about men?
I think hurt people.
I don't think it's women's faults at all, but I do think that ever since the 60s, you know, since modern feminism, the more that women have put out in society, I'm talking like corporate world, if you look at the corporate society, for example, women now are being told to stay and work longer because the corporations are benefiting off of women working at them. So, I mean, it's not women's fault. I'm not blaming women, but I do think that women have been bought into this lie that they've been sold.
Do you think they're being submissive to their employment rather than to their man?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fascinating.
So how would you
Sometimes
of
low
women,
percentage.
there's plenty of women who are mature enough at a young age, who are ready to get married, who are ready to have kids, who don't have a high body count. I mean, you can be 19, 20, 21. I know plenty of people even in college that got engaged to people that were maybe older and graduated 28, 29. But just because they're younger doesn't mean they're not mentally or physically ready for any of those life experiences.
I completely agree.
Older woman will, who has had more sexual partners, will obviously not be able to connect with her husband as much and will be coming into a relationship with baggage. So I think it's fair to assume, unless you've had an intimate conversation of how many people you've slept with, it's okay to assume, okay, you're 35, you're single, you've probably slept with a lot more people than a 19 or 20-year-old coming in and it's 1 or 2 sexual partners.
The ones is money, because
Yes.
Yes, it is, but a
Yes.
lot of it is financial security, like with your partner and being able to provide for your family. When you're talking about like, you know, women needing to work, I think honestly a lot of that is more feminism with like, you know, being a corporate woman, like I can do it on my own, the boss babe energy, waiting to have kids, waiting to get married, to where now even the marriage rate and our birth rate in America has decreased because women feel like that they need to provide.
Have that simulation.
Do you really feel like it's all women's fault? Like the second women were able to provide for themselves, they chose not to be with men. What does that tell you about men?
I think hurt people.
I don't think it's women's faults at all, but I do think that ever since the 60s, you know, since modern feminism, the more that women have put out in society, I'm talking like corporate world, if you look at the corporate society, for example, women now are being told to stay and work longer because the corporations are benefiting off of women working at them. So, I mean, it's not women's fault. I'm not blaming women, but I do think that women have been bought into this lie that they've been sold.
Do you think they're being submissive to their employment rather than to their man?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Fascinating.
So how would you
Blaming women for like the lack of like children being born and like families, and I don't think it's necessarily, it's like not women or men, it's like the state of our economy. I mean, even if you are with your partner, like you're, you know, you're a 2-person household, you don't, it's hard to have a kid. I mean, and with women in work, I mean, a lot of states don't support like, you know, we're lucky to be in California, at least I live in California, where they do have like paid leave for what, like 6 weeks, you know? So I think that maybe as a, you know, I'm central left and you're probably right.
Conservative,
yeah. I think maybe we can agree on this, that like there needs to be more policy on family.
Oh, absolutely. I think there should be more policy put in place for longer term maternity leave, because I think that would incentivize women to have children more. And I also think it's very crucial for women to be at home with their kids for a long portion, honestly, of the baby's lives, because that's a huge developmental stage to the child. And I also think, you know, look at the childcare industry and how that plays into, you know, women can only be at home with their kid for 6 weeks, and then I need you to get back in the corporate world to continue making
horrible.
money.
No,
it's awful.
And I agree with you. No, I 100% agree with you. So I'm Romanian. Like my mom was born in Romania. Most of my family is in Romania, and in Romania you get 3 years paid.
3 years. See,
Wow.
I think that's
pretty cool.
great. But then also, okay, in society, is it the corporation's job to fund you being able to go home and be with your kids?
No. The corporations don't pay for it. The country does. The EU. I mean, Romania is part of the
So then it would be the
European
taxpayer's job in America to be able to uphold the family. See, but then I think that's up to the family to be able to raise and support their child.
Unfortunately, we don't live in that kind of economy, though.
Because
which we should be able to. I mean, our country spends so much money on military, on everything else, and you think they could spend on families, right?
Right, and I do. There is child support and there is help out there federally for parents, but it shouldn't be the government and the taxpayers' number one priority. Like, it's our job to give money just because you had a kid, so we're going to support you having a kid. If you have a kid, I mean, it's your job to support it. And I also think that in America we have a materialism problem where people are opulent and spending money on things and have skewed priorities.
They have that in Europe as well. So,
but the thing is you're saying, well, you know, the government needs to help pay for kids and support kids, and you know, parents need help. When in reality, I just think there's a lot of people who have skewed priorities and don't properly and wisely utilize their funds.
So you think materialism is the reason why people aren't having kids?
You said that people can't afford to have children because of the economy. Yeah. But a lot of those people that can't afford children can afford a lot of other things and not have their priorities straight.
Yeah.
American beauty standards always changing. Like at first 2008 it was be a Victoria's Secret model, stick thin, and then it went to curvy hips, and now everyone's on Ozempic, poisoning themselves to look skinny again. And so it's like, as women, why don't we just embrace our natural femininity and being natural and being beautiful in our own selves, instead of allowing social media, allowing the fake influencer culture, and allowing even sometimes men to change the way that we look for ourselves when you're really not pleasing yourself at all. Women want these unrealistic beauty standards, and I think men tend to gawk after that because of the porn industry, because they see these super fake women and think that that's what they want, when in reality they're way more physically attracted to a natural looking woman. But I mean, okay, look at, you're talking about opportunity, you're wanting free things from the government. That comes at a cost of, you know, if the government is going to utilize your tax dollars to then continue to pay for this lifestyle to uphold, why can't Americans, I mean, we live in the freest country, to continue to utilize the opportunity that is given to us under our Constitution to go out and make more money? I mean, you can start a podcast, you can have an OnlyFans, you can now make money on Instagram. There's really no excuse for anybody.
So now you're
to
pro
say
OnlyFans? I mean, wouldn't you rather like our tax dollars go to like supporting families as opposed to supporting a war overseas? Like, just
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Our money should stay in America 100%. And no, I'm not personally, I am not pro OnlyFans, but the point that I'm making is that is legal and available in America, and there's no excuse to not make money. I think there's other ways that are way more glorifying to make money that isn't selling your body on the internet.
Well, the average person, I mean, isn't able to like become a drop shipper or like become an influencer.
Says who? That's self-motivation, though. Allowed the sex work industry to prey into you as a young girl.
I was a stripper when I was 18 to 20.
Which is sad.
That's why I hope that the sex work industry becomes more holistic over time.
Are you going to take an industry of men paying women to sleep with them and make it this healing experience, when in reality I think our society more than anything lacks God? I mean, there's so many people that are just so morally lost, where you said you started stripping when you were 18 years old. I don't think any woman should ever look to that and be like, this is super glorifying in society and this is the right thing for me to do. And it makes me sad that women in our society are lied to so much that they turn to OnlyFans, they turn to selling their bodies on the internet for the male gaze, profiting off of that and continuing. Not only it lowers their self-esteem, it's women mentally are becoming unhealthier, higher body counts, and then less desirable as life goes on. To the dating scale, that there is something as a high value woman, that there are women that are more valuable in the dating sphere, so then there's also men that are more valuable.
I mean, I guess, but not person to person.
You had an 18-year-old girl sitting in front of you and asking, hey, I want to get into the stripping industry because I really am trying to chase that bag. Would you encourage her to do that?
The money's not like how it used to be. A lot of girls are...
So if the money was how it used to be in a young girl,
I would. Yeah, I would. Okay.
Yeah.
Being a stripper isn't being promiscuous.
No 18-year-old wakes up one day and says, I'm going to take off my clothes and be a stripper for money. Like, that's just not reality. And it is a psychological fact that there is damage there and trauma, that these women who are doing this, it feels like a last resort option for a lot of women because they have nothing else that they feel like that they can fall back on. And then even tying this to trafficking, even like there's it is a gateway.
I really feel you guys, and I see and I hear you, like you're coming from a certain point of view, but like it's really ignorant. Like, you guys really don't know anything about women who do sex work.
Older women who has had more sexual partners will obviously not be able to connect with her husband as much and will be coming into a relationship with baggage. So I think it's fair to assume, unless you've had an intimate conversation of how many people you've slept with, it's okay to assume, okay, you're 35, you're single, you've probably slept with a lot more people than a 19 or 20-year-old coming in and it's one or two sexual partners. Every single time you sleep with a man, we are creating pair bonds in our brain that are connecting us to those people. And then how you can disagree with science and psychology.
I don't pair bond with every single person I sleep with.
So you can say, like, I'm not pair bonding, but that's just not reality and that's not scientific.
So I'm just delusional. I just like live my life.
I didn't say you were delusional.
So every guy that I sleep with, I'm just in love with. That's
no, we didn't say you're in love with him.
I said that there's a psychological bond, that there is a bond in your brain that you are creating with that person that you have an intimate relationship with. That is psychological, that is scientific, it's irrefutable evidence on the table. At the end of the day, I mean, you said you slept with 30 people. You have a pair bonded
with
in your
all
brain
30
with
people?
30 people. Yes. You're creating also the inability to have a long-lasting relationship, because the more people that you sleep with, and when it's just a hookup, you're training psychologically your brain that is more acceptable and okay than being in a long-term relationship. See, I wouldn't even classify myself as a feminist at all. I mean, I'm pro-woman.
Pro-woman.
I love you know, being being pro-woman, but the feminist movement in the modern day and age now has been completely distorted to not be a pro-woman. Even
it's like anti
at all. It's anti-woman. It's anti-traditionalism. It's anti-motherhood. Honestly, I mean, they're completely
hustle culture and that.
I mean, we haven't talked about abortion, but they're pro-legal genocide and like anti-motherhood in today's day and age. Yeah. They want women to stay in the corporate world. They want you to be a slave to your corporation. They want women to get married later and later. And the feminist movement has been the downfall, I think, of women in especially the past 2 decades.